Following Donald Trump is exhausting, which is why I don't really do it all that often. But thankfully, there are people out there that do that, and one of those people is Daniel Dale of the Toronto Star. So this is a reporter that cut his teeth in Toronto on the former mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, who was also an incredible liar. So Daniel Dale did a great job covering Rob Ford in my city during that time when Ford was the mayor. But now he has been on the White House beat for, I think, a few years now, and has done a great job at covering Donald Trump's lies. Though I do have a little criticism near the end of this video. But let me show you just the staggering scale, using Daniel Dale's words, the staggering scale of Donald Trump's lies. So this is his new article in the Toronto Star. 815 false claims. The staggering scale of Donald Trump's pre-midterm dishonesty. Now, even in the coverage of Donald Trump's incredible lies, they're still being kind, calling it false claims. I mean, okay, they're false claims. I guess they don't all count as lies. But just to, I guess, explain the difference, this is how they describe it and why they choose to use the phrase false claims and not just say lies. So in their words, the short answer is that we can't be sure that each and every one was intentional. In some cases, he may have been confused or ignorant. What we know objectively is that he was not telling the truth. So let me go through some of the details here on exactly how many times Trump has lied in the span of the month, I guess. I mean, the coverage here is, so let's look at this graph. So this bar graph shows you how the amount of lies Trump has had and how it has increased more recently. So let me read this from the Toronto Star while looking at this crazy graph here. Trump has made 664 false claims in October. That was double his previous record for a calendar month, 320 in August. Trump averaged 26.3 false claims per day in the month leading up to the midterm on November 6th. In 2017, he averaged 2.9 per day. Trump made more false claims in the 2 months leading up to the midterms, 1,176, than he did in all of 2017, 1,011. Now, part of the reasoning for all these lies more recently, I think, should be obvious. Trump was on TV a lot more. He was campaigning with a lot of these candidates all across the country. So any chance that Donald Trump has to be in front of a crowd of people, there's a good chance he's going to be lying his ass off. And that's exactly what he did over the course of the month before the midterms, as well as all the lying he did before that. But it was even more before the midterms. Now, just to give you here are some examples of the lies. So they're sort of all over the place, but they do count as lies. So some obvious ones here, like his attacks on CNN. This is a Trump quote. "So funny to see the CNN fake suppression polls and false rhetoric. Watch for real results Tuesday." And then they corrected by saying, "In fact, there is no evidence CNN pollsters had intentionally manipulated their numbers to deflate Trump's vote." So you have some, obvious fact checks like that. You also have some other ones that I think honestly don't go far enough in fact checking Donald Trump. So let me give you an example. Here is one where Trump said, quote, "A majority of the Democrats on the ballot for Congress have already signed up to support a local socialist takeover of healthcare that would totally destroy Medicare." So true. In fact, Democrats' Medicare for All proposals tend to be vague, but they would not destroy Medicare. Rather, they would extend similar government-provided health insurance to younger people as well, and they would give current Medicare recipients additional coverage for things like vision and dental services. Now, correcting Trump on the lie there is good, but even in their fact check, they say Medicare for All proposals tend to be vague. No, they don't. So Bernie has a very detailed step-by-step explanation of how his Medicare for All implementation would work in his Medicare for All bill. So this is what, even in the fact checking of Donald Trump, there is this establishment bubble around it. Even for somebody from Canada, Daniel Dale, who is well aware that Americans by now should have a universal healthcare system, even in that, he's being overly generous to Donald Trump by saying that the Medicare for All bills or the Medicare for All plans have been vague, when they haven't. They are very detailed. So in Bernie's bill, he has a detailed explanation of how it would be implemented. So there would be, I don't have the exact details in front of me, but it would be by age groups. So you would have the oldest and the younger get Medicare first, and then it would increase until it gets, squeezed down, and so it covers everyone. That's one takeaway or one example of how it's detailed. But Bernie also goes into the money aspect of it as well, how it would be taxed, how there would be a certain percentage raised in taxes on corporations and on higher income earners, but on everyone as well, as people are no longer paying their health insurance premiums. So because you take that away, you also you increase taxes, but the increase in taxes does not make up for what you used to pay a health insurance provider. So I'm not going to get too into healthcare here, but this is to give you an example of exactly, even in the fact checks of Donald Trump, they are too soft about it. They could actually go harder. But that being said, let's just be real here. These lies are insane. For a president, look, we all know all politicians lie. Yes, we get that. But for Donald Trump to have 815 lies in the month before the midterms, I mean, it's crazy. And look, you can go to the link on the Toronto Star. Go to the link. I'll link it below the video. They have the lies right there. You can scroll through it, read them yourself. I read several. I went down through the list. I didn't read all 800, but I went down through the list, and they are clear and obvious lies. A lot of the responses to the lies are repeated because they're lies about Medicare, Medicaid, and they're just it's Trump's just constant bringing up those issues and making the same lies on those issues, but they're still lies. Just because they're not unique lies, they're not 800 unique lies, but they're 800 lies that are that he regurgitates over and over and over again. So this is who Donald Trump is. Now, again, there also isn't. If there was a progressive version of this fact checker, or a progressive version of Daniel Dale, it would go deeper, because Trump also talks about, oh yeah, the economy's doing great, unemployment's down and all this, but these are all just trends from Obama era policies. So Trump did not implement anything to make anything better. If they were more specific about the lies, because those are really, I guess you could argue there, Trump is just being vague himself. He's just saying, oh, the economy's doing great. But I would consider it to be a lie, because he didn't do anything for that sort of output. All of these trends that look good for Trump are actually trends from Obama era policies. But they also don't really touch on the wages. So wages have been flat under Trump. So let me show you this article. Trump's economic scorecard: higher inflation, flat wages, and a ballooning federal deficit. So many times Trump has talked about how wages are increasing. Oh, the American people, they're seeing much higher wages now. But the reality is there's higher inflation. So wages have not kept up with the pace of inflation, meaning there is less buying power for the average American under Donald Trump since his tax cut for the rich. So that's why, or that's part of the reason this is happening. Yet I didn't see that detailed in the lies. Maybe it was there somewhere. I didn't find it. But these lies where Trump sort of deflects and says, oh, the economy's doing great, but doesn't get into the details of how it wasn't actually him, and how when it comes to wages, something that I think is more important than unemployment. I mean, the unemployment number, it could be zero. You know how? Slavery. So if there was slavery, the unemployment number would be zero. It'd be a great number. Oh, look, the unemployment is now at zero under Donald Trump. Yeah, but you instituted slavery. I mean, this didn't happen, but in that scenario, that's what could happen. But thankfully, that has not happened. But the point being that you are really able to manipulate these numbers based on nothing that actually benefits real people. So you have to look at data points that I think are real tellers of how the economy is doing or how real people are doing, like wages, real wages. So if wages are not increasing, if wages are not keeping up with inflation, then the economy is not doing great, or the people that are living in that economy are not doing great. But again, this is the sort of thing that doesn't get really, you can't really dive into these issues if you are just looking at Trump's obvious lies, like lies about how CNN manipulates polls, which is just, I mean, I've seen that shit in my comments too on YouTube. I mean, maybe they're just trolls that are paid to spread these sorts of Trump bullshit lies. But I mean, there's just, look, I have plenty of criticism of CNN. You can go back and watch my videos. Go search CNN. I don't know if I've done a positive video about CNN, but understand that there are aspects of what CNN does that are based in reality. And then oftentimes my critique of CNN is that they focus on issues that ultimately aren't all that important to most people. And they'll ignore real issues like wages, for example, or like healthcare, where people, if you looked at it objectively, a universal healthcare system is beneficial for the vast majority of Americans. Objectively, a higher minimum wage is beneficial for the vast majority of Americans. But you don't see CNN pushing those ideas. So that's my criticism of CNN. But Trump's criticism of CNN is that they are criticizing him. I mean, that's CNN's job. So if you think CNN is too focused on Donald Trump, you know what? You're right. They are too focused on him because they should be. He is the president. And thankfully, they're focused on him. So I don't have to talk about him all that much because, as I said at the beginning of the video, he exhausts the hell out of me.